How y'all doing? I apologize for any background noise. I'm talking through my hearing aid like usual, recording through my hearing aid, and I'm just standing outside enjoying this lovely Appalachian weather. It's gorgeous. Had an interesting morning. I still haven't made a decision on whether or not I'm going to move out west. I told that company that I wanted a week to make sure that everything was okay with my family, in regards to my wife and my son, and I got to figure out what I'm going to do with my house. And of course, the guy that I've been talking to is like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm like, take all the time that you need. Anything you need on our end, just take your time because we're a family-run business. We're all about family here. We don't want you making a decision that you regret or it's difficult for your family, which I really appreciate. Um, but I do have another interview this afternoon with a different company. And then the next day, I got another interview with another company. So I've probably done about 9 or 10 interviews. The company out west, their offer is more than fair. I think it's pretty much close to what I was expecting to normally be offered. Um, it's going to be a downside to move my whole family out there. It's going to be stressful for me. I'm not going to lie. I really like my house. I built this house. Basically, I stripped it all the way down to just the brickwork, external brickwork. I reframed everything. Um, this was the home that my son has spent his entire life in. Um, this was the home that when I was getting sober, if I wasn't on the job, I was hanging drywall, I was pouring cement, doing all the wiring, all the plumbing myself. This was the home that I was expecting to die in, kind of thing. So out of the three of us, I'm the one that's probably the most resistant to moving. Um, my son somehow is on board with this, and I was like, well, son, you're not going to be able to really see or talk to your friends anymore. And he's like, Dad, we have the internet. I can still talk to him whenever I want. I was like, oh yeah, that's true. That is true. He's excited about going out west because he likes to read like cowboy novels and stuff. Excuse me. I went jogging and I grabbed coffee. It was interesting this morning. Since I have the downtime, I've been cooking breakfast for my wife and my son every day. If you've seen some of my other videos, I do really love to cook. It's a great stress release for me. And it was funny, my wife before work was kind of messing around with her phone, and she's like, "Did you know your old boss just bought a house?" I was like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, his wife just announced it on Facebook. They're moving to Houston." I was like, "My goodness. They have really screwed themselves." And my wife's like, "What do you mean?" Because so my wife has an idea of what I think is going on with the company. Kind of, she knows that we both agree that the reason I got let go is because I was the first of what's probably going to be a bloodbath of them shutting down our Appalachia office. I look back on it now, and there are so many signs, like not even building improvements, but like even like just basic building maintenance wasn't getting done, kind of thing. And then I should have really noticed this how in management positions they just started hiring like so many people were retiring all at once in the last I'd say 2 years, and they were getting replaced by people that like didn't really make much sense. So like my wife was just like, well, they probably told him to move. I was like, I don't think they told him to move. She's like, well, why did he move? I'm like, because he's pretty slow. She's like, no, that doesn't make. Come on. I was like, babe, have you ever looked him up on LinkedIn? She's like, no. So I was like, look him up on your LinkedIn. So she looks him up on her phone, and she's like, wait a minute. I recognize his face, but this can't be him. I was like, what do you mean? She goes, he has a BA in visual arts. I was like, yep. And my wife, who's a chemical engineer, mind you, she's like, that makes no sense. What doesn't make any sense? She goes, I've never heard of an engineering company that puts a non-engineer in charge of like a slew of engineers. I was like, yeah, that's pretty much what they've been doing over the last three years or so. She's like, that makes no sense. I was like, babe, this is why like over the last 6 months, like I've been complaining about time cards, expense reports not being done, me having to do my own work visas, and so on. Like, this is why I've been so stressed out because I've had an utter idiot in charge of me. She's like, yeah, but she's like, I got to imagine that's affecting the bottom line. I was like, no, you got to understand what the bottom line is, babe. They're shutting down the office. She's like, yeah, but they're going to be moving people, right? I was like, no, babe, they're not moving people. I was like, right now, they're probably in talks with like Prime Metals, so that Prime Metals buys our metals division. They're probably in talk with ABB, so that ABB buys our crane division. They're probably in talks with Valmont, so they buy our paper division, and so on. They're going to sell off all of our business units. And then my wife's like, well, at least that'll probably save some people's jobs. I was like, no, it won't. Well, come on, honey. You know how the U.S. companies work. They're not going to keep any of those people on board. They want them. They're just, what these companies are buying is they're buying out a competitor. They're buying out the market share, basically. They're not looking to keep anyone. It's going to be a bloodbath. They're going to do what they did to me. They're going to have different conference rooms set up for different business units, and they're going to wait until the very last second, and they're just going to fire everybody. One by one, in 5-minute intervals. You're fired, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. And they're just going to close up shop. She goes, well, that still doesn't explain why they've been hiring morons. I was like, babe, they've still got to have this company profitable up until the very last second. If they were honest with people, people would be jumping ship like crazy, and that would affect the bottom line. That would make these business units not look nearly as profitable. So what they want is they want everybody working their nose to the grindstone until the last second. This is why they hired a bunch of yes men and women, a bunch of idiots that they think if they get all their employees fired, that somehow magically they're going to hold on to their own job. They're not, but they're stupid. This is why every day I've been told, we're not moving, we're not shutting down this office. Don't listen to any kind of baseless rumors or whatever. If you have any questions, talk to your manager. And all of our managers are idiots. She's like, yeah, but if you bought a house, they had to have told him to move. I was like, no, you don't know this guy. This guy is one of those people that's he's really dangerous because he's very, very stupid, but he thinks he's smarter than everybody. I suspect what he thinks is, well, if he gets a jump on everybody else, and if he already has a job in Houston, he's going to be able to keep his job. But the truth of the matter is, he's a moron who is woefully underqualified for the job that he has, and it's a job that no longer exists. So he screwed himself. He probably spent like $1.2 million for a McMansion in between a titty bar and a oil refinery, which of course my son like started giggling because I said titty, and then my wife was like, "Don't use that kind of language around her son." I was like, "Sorry," but I'm like, "But that's the truth." He's going to be stuck there. He's going to lose his job. He's going to be eyeballs deep in debt. He's not going to have any connections or anything. And anybody that he does know from the job that he's done for the last 2 years, nobody will hire him because, again, he's woefully underqualified for the position that he used to make. And then on top of this, he's probably gotten used to making like $90,000 a year with just a BA in visual arts. He is beyond screwed. I was like, frankly, I'm glad you shared this with me, wifey, because now I feel a lot better about our current situation. But yeah, it's amazing. It still really hurts my ego that I got manipulated so effectively by a guy this stupid. I honestly figured even if they shut down the home office, they would keep me on board just because I was a field engineer and I could technically live and work anywhere. This is why when I've had other field engineers that have called me up and asked me what happened, And they're like, well, I'm not too worried. I live in a completely different state or a different country, so that office closing doesn't affect me. And it's like, okay, keep thinking that. Because what's going to end up happening is, I firmly believe this, they're selling off their business units. These corporate fat cats are going to get a massive, massive amount of money for this. It'll probably be our most successful quarter ever in the history of the company. And then the next quarter, this company is going to be in real financial trouble because they're going to go all hard into solar inverters. Only right now, it's going to be incredibly expensive and difficult to get rare metals out of China. Financially, as a corporate kind of thing, this is the dumbest, worst time and thing to do with the way the global economy is heading, with all these trade wars and stuff. But it won't matter to these people because, one, they'll be able to get all their bonuses and their payouts ahead of time. And then, two, even if the company goes bankrupt, they'll all have their golden parachutes and stuff. This is exactly what happened to GE. This is exactly what happened to Westinghouse. Two incredibly powerful international engineering firms that effectively GE owns like 60% of the market. Westinghouse owned 40% of the market. And for all intents and purposes, neither one of them exists. You still see their names around everywhere every once in a while, but it's like they're like ghost companies basically, and so on. People pay to be able to slap the old name on the stuff. And that's what's happening to my old company. It's amazing. And I think this has been something that's been in the works for like 5 years. That's when we got this new CEO out of this guy out of India. And I think that's been the plan from a very long time, that they wanted to figure out a way to just extract as much value out of this company and then fuck anybody and everybody that's caught in the crossfire, which is going to be about 90% of the company. So John's screwed, his wife's screwed, his two kids are screwed. Um, Pretty much all these managers have been lying to our faces are screwed. Every single one of the rank and file employees, like myself, we're all screwed. But the important thing is, about a dozen people are going to be able to buy like a third home and a large boat or something. It's amazing, but it is what it is. This is why I'm kind of leaning towards a job out west. Um, it's run by a father and son. They are a bit religious, but it's around like a 200-person company. It's going to be working on the previous equipment that I previously worked on, plus they're talking about training me up on their other stuff that they work on. It was kind of funny when the son called me back after I got back to Appalachia. He was apologizing. He's like, hey man, I'm really sorry about the craziness. My understanding is you had to run to get to your flight. I was like, yeah, that was a little tough, but it is what it is. He's like, well, listen, we don't really have a position for you. I was like, oh man, I understand. Look, I really appreciate you guys flying me out there just to meet with y'all, and I want to wish you all the success in the world. He goes, no, I'm sorry, I'm saying that wrong. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, we don't have a position title or anything for like what we want you to do. We want you to do everything from commissioning to customer support, both locally or in the office and also remote. We want you to train up all of our people on the stuff that you already know, but we also want to get you trained up on the other stuff so that you could also do that training. We want you involved with sales and stuff because I really think that when you're on a site, you can really help us out with that. I was like, oh yeah, man. Yeah, whenever I was on sites, I was always kind of walking backwards into making big sales unintentionally. So yeah, no, that sounds good. And then he told me the offer, which was really fair, and I just told him I needed a little bit more time because I got to be honest, just this move, the move does have me stressed out. I'm really afraid of how it's going to affect my wife and my son, despite them, acting like it was not going to be a big deal. My wife works remote, so that's not a big issue. She does like um, She does basically plant design for a chemical uh, engineering company. So she does like a lot of just sitting at a desk and doing AutoCAD stuff that I can't handle just sitting at a desk all day. Um, and my son talks a big game, but at his age, he's not even a teenager yet. Um, he might think it's going to be easy and fun, but it still might be difficult for him. I don't know. He takes after his mother, thank God. He's not like me. So he's always up for travel and trying new stuff. I think it's just one of those things that, like, if this had happened, like, in my 20s or my 30s, it would be no big deal. But now that I'm in my mid 40s, um, honestly, it's such a nerve-wracking um, thing. I got 1,001 worries in my head. It's not like I'm gonna have to move right away. Probably they already mentioned how they were just gonna put me up in a hotel for a couple of weeks until I could set something up for my wife and my son. Chances are, it sounds like they're going to have me working in the field almost immediately. So I might not even have to do anything when it comes to like setting up a move for a while at least. It is what it is. Future's got to move on. And again, at least I'm not like John. At least I'm not moving halfway across the country without a fucking job. Like, I don't know. I thought I was on the same page with this guy. I thought he really understood that I had his back. Um, because it's one of those things. If he had called me up, even if he hadn't fired me, or even if he had fired me, I would have given him the same advice. Like, unless they're paying you to move, do not move, and don't don't buy a house. Just get an apartment. Just get an apartment, keep a place here in Appalachia, and rent it out. Because there's no guarantee that your job is safe. But you know, it is what it is. I don't really hate the guy. I really don't hate anyone. That's a level of emotion that I can't really process very well. But yeah, it is what it is. So, what time is it? Yeah, I gotta start getting ready for this interview. So, it should be good. I'm not too worried about it. Again, I'm not even that interested in the job, mainly because I've worked with some of their equipment in the past, and I find this company's QA to be an absolute shit show. So I'm not sure if I want to deal with that. I think my son's head's going to explode though if we do move out west and he tries Whataburger for the first time. I'm sorry, not Whataburger, In-N-Out Burger. I think In-N-Out Burger is the only fast food at this point that I could eat and not feel like I'm dying because I can't do fast food anymore. So he'll probably like that. So anyway, I hope you all take care of each other. Take care of take care of yourself. I hope everyone's doing well. And ciao.